One and okay, we're live.
Hey guys, welcome back to Reticulous Radio. We are here with Kim Bell Mross from All Things Wild, North Georgia. And Kim, did you want to talk about what got you started in the hobby?
I guess, I've always kind of been in it without really realizing it. I was born and raised here in Atlanta, and my father was the fire chief for City of Atlanta. And so he would save up all of his vacation days, and we would go camping for 2-3 weeks at a time. So I grew up in the Georgia state parks, hiking, fishing, camping, herping. Didn't know what herping was at the time, but not being raised not fearful of wildlife sets you up, for a pretty amazing life. So I never really had that fear instilled in me, and that has led me to where I am now.
Cool.
All right. And so you want to get into a little bit about what you keep first?
I keep a little bit of everything. We do a lot of rescue. So we get called in on animal hoarding cases. Sometimes 911 may call us, or people just contact me that is going to prison, or maybe somebody died. It's hard enough to rehome someone's dog when they pass away. It's even harder when they have an 8-foot boa constrictor. So that's where we step in. I keep native and exotic. I'm more of a native snob, honestly. I prefer native snakes. I do have a few exotics that we've taken in, and I do use them for education as well. I keep venomous. Probably my favorite is the venomous. And I don't know a lot of women that do keep venomous, but I am one of those ones that does.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. That. So in Georgia, like Michigan, we're not allowed to keep native species. It's highly illegal.
Right.
So Georgia, do you guys need special permits, or?
You do. I actually have several different permits. I can't even begin to tell you all the different ones I have. In Georgia, it's legal to keep native venomous snakes. You can keep them. That's legal. It is illegal to keep native non-venomous unless you have a permit. I do have a permit just in case something comes up, because people do remove snakes from the wild and then obviously keep them as pets. And then if they get confiscated, they've got to have a place to go. So I do have the permits to keep them, because we can't re-release them after they've been removed. No telling where they came from, what their history is.
Right.
So there's permits for that. There's permits for exhibition. There's permits. You have to get a special permit to have a venomous that's non-native. I don't have that because honestly, I'm a native snob. I love our native venomous snakes, and I'm happy to keep those. Those are my babies, So.
Now, is there any type of what would the word be? How do you just let me think about it. Good. Ask another question while I think of how to word this. My mind is going blank.
You get into what kind of educational stuff do you do?
I do a lot of public outreach, and that's kind of how I got started. I was actually a preschool teacher for 10 years, many, many years ago. And I really enjoy working with children. And I truly believe that that's the heart of having some understanding of wildlife is getting kids excited and engaged with wild animals at an early age instead of instilling that fear. So I do a lot of outreach. I do a lot of nature stuff. I've got a Boy Scout group. I don't know if they're watching. Hi guys. They're watching that I'll be meeting with them next week, and we're going herping. hopefully the weather is good for it. And I do take kids herping a lot.
That's awesome.
Get them outdoors. And
yeah, that is really cool.
But I have just as much fun as they do.
Oh, I'm
so.
sure. Yeah, that's kids make it all the more worth it.
I do. When I'm herping, I'm like a kid in a candy store. So.
Right.
What are you going to find today? Are you going to find that, you know, the thing, it's like looking for a diamond, you know, and I see people post pictures and they're like, what is this? And I'm thinking, oh my God, you found that. You don't even care. You don't know what it is. You know, and I'm sitting there going, oh, I want to find that.
That's great.
Yeah, like my biggest one is I'm still looking. It's our only native venomous, the Eastern Massasauga.
Oh,
and
yes.
I've narrowed it down, and I'm really hoping to find one this spring. So
that would be really amazing. We actually, I don't know if you can see it. It's here. There's actually a skateboard up there with one on it.
Oh yeah.
From the Venom Institute. They sent to
that's super cool.
Sent to us, and yeah, it's really awesome. My husband is a skateboarder, so when they made these decks, they sent one to us. We were the first ones to get them.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So, as part of your job, you actually work for a well-known company.
I do.
AMC, and you work on set for The Walking Dead. Now, what's that like? What you do there for those our viewers that don't know?
I'm the snake wrangler for The Walking Dead and for other TV shows and movies here in Atlanta. And basically, I go out. We shoot primarily outdoors. Middle to South Georgia, heavy woods, heavy forest, heavy habitat. And I go in before the crew and the cast, and I remove whatever's there and hold on to it. And then when we're done shooting, I put it all back. Sometimes we have to stop what we're doing because something's coming through set. It is honestly the best job because the areas that we're shooting in are uninhabited. People haven't been there. So the snakes get really, really old. So they get really big. And that's where I caught the copperhead. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now, that was nearly 4 foot long. Wow. And it just, I mean, I was crying and everybody's looking at me and they're like, what's wrong with this snake? And I'm like, you don't understand. They don't get this big, you know, and people are like, she's really upset about something. I'm like, no, these are tears of joy. Like
happy tears. Finding
a copperhead is pretty common in Atlanta. Finding one that is nearly 4 foot long is unheard of. So it's nice. I do get to find a lot of stuff, and sometimes we have kids on set for background, and I get to talk to them about snakes. And a lot of the actors that you've probably seen on my page, Kari Payton, who plays King Ezekiel, is a huge fan of whatever I catch, and he loves to hold it. He wants to hold them, and so we. You know, I try to get them involved, and I said, my day is done here the day they look at me and say, hey, we don't need you on set anymore because we're no longer afraid. And that's always my goal. Sorry, I've got this little thing on here. Is to get people to not be afraid, because I want people to be able to go outside and really participate and not worry about everything that's around them. And it's so silly. That's why I'm loving the coronavirus right now. Everybody's so worried about that. They forgot that the snakes are coming out of brumation. And I'm like, yay, coronavirus.
Surprise.
So, yeah, it's been great. More people have died of coronavirus already in the past week than snakes all year last year.
Yeah,
so
I could see that.
That's my new argument.
The coronavirus is way more deadly than snakes. That's
exactly.
for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. So How did you get into that line of work? I mean, like, did you find them or they heard about you?
They found me. It's kind of a weird story. Here in my community, I live in North Georgia, and people do know, yes, I live in a very country state, a very redneck state, and there's a lot of killing that goes on here. And I just finally got sick of it. And so I started doing community outreach. And I said, in my community, if you find a snake, don't kill it. I will come and get it for free. But you have to give me 5 or 10 minutes of your time, and let me give you a little education on this snake. But don't kill it. I'll come take care of it. Just don't harm it. And so people started taking me up on it. And I became kind of popular as the crazy snake lady, which I'm proud of.
Yeah, that's
worse. So one of my good friends, Nathaniel Frank, who owns M Toxin's Venom Lab, actually was talking to someone that said, do you know anyone that handles Venomous in Atlanta? And he said, yeah, actually my friend Kim. So if it wasn't for Nathaniel, mentioning me, I probably wouldn't have gotten my first gig. So I was recommended to work in the Atlanta film industry, and they contacted me from LA and said, hey, we need you. I showed up on one set and it just blew up from there. Apparently there's a lot of fake snake wranglers. Just because you have a clamp and can pick up a snake doesn't make you a snake wrangler.
Right.
There's a lot of phonies out there. I've been called into sets to take over for fake snake wranglers. So and I've trained. I've got a few people that work with me. I've trained. I take it very seriously. We're very cautious about everything that we do, how everything is handled. I'm constantly looking for diseases. I'm constantly looking for parasites. I haven't come across snake fungal disease, but I am prepared. I have extra equipment with me to deal with that if I do, so that I can get it to the proper people for rehab. So I take it a little further than I think a typical snake wrangler would. And, but I'm there not just to service the people, I'm there to service the animals,
Which
and
makes you that much better. And
yeah,
stand out that much more. That's all.
It does. Yeah. And we have, we have found, I found they aren't exactly sure of the age, a 40-plus-year-old Eastern box turtle was down in our swamp set for The Walking Dead, where we had a bunch of walkers, and he was actually had upper respiratory infection. His ears were completely, swollen. He was missing his back leg. His 2 front paws were completely gone, missing.
Wow.
And so I was able to transport him and get him some help, which was fantastic, because as old as this guy was, he deserved, to live. Had we not been down there and had I not known what to look for.
Right.
And the Eastern box turtle is not doing good on the list of species. It's actually, I don't think it's on the endangered list fully, is it? Or
it's not. I'm fortunate enough where we shoot The Walking Dead, we have a ton of them, and I post little babies all the time. I am constantly finding the babies around set, which is great. But that's because we have a closed set. That's where we shoot The Walking Dead is actually an old movie theater or movie stages from the 40s. So it wasn't used really a whole lot up until The Walking Dead came in. And so you've got this really great habitat, lots of food sources, lots of water, lots of habitat. So we've got plentiful, and the water moccasins are everywhere. That is like, I should say I catch as many cottonmouths as I do rat snakes on set. Wow. It's probably like
job security.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
that's awesome. Though.
So going to work for you is like every herper's dream then. Like
yeah, sounds like it. I didn't even know that could be a job.
I didn't know it could be either. And it's like it's the best thing. Like, I'm like, wait, you want to pay me to do what?
You want me to,
you know, and so, but I, you know, like I said, I've got a couple of other people that work with me if I need an extra hand. Sometimes they need 2 or 3 snake wranglers on set. And I'm very specific, not only about how we do things, but the tools that we use. I will not let anybody use regular clamps. You have to have the Gentle Giants by Midwest, or you need to be able to know how to double hook a venomous snake, because I don't want anybody representing me that, you know, the movie, and I should say this, the producers, the directors, they have no clue. They don't have a clue what effort and steps I have done to make this the best situation possible. Anybody could go in and do what I do, and they could do it half-ass. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. No, you're fine. There's been a lot worse said.
But you know, I really have put a lot of thought into how the animals are handled ethically. Because it's important to me and for what I do. And I hope to kind of set the bar really high for any other snake wrangler that comes in under me, that people have to, like, you know, bring it. You know, this is not just because you have a ball python as a pet, you are not a snake wrangler. That's, you know, and unfortunately I get a lot of people, you know, sending me messages that say, well, I have a pet ball python, or I have a boa constrictor. And I'm like, that's great. That's great. It doesn't make you a snake wrangler. It's not
a ball python and a venomous snake is not on the same level by any means.
I think people get the idea that I have this really glamorous job, but if they actually saw me in action, they would be a little appalled, because I get in some of the swampiest, boggiest, nastiest water. And
I've seen some pictures.
We work 16-hour days, and it's 100+ degrees out in South Georgia, covered in ticks, covered in mosquitoes. So it's not, you know, it's not something that, oh, I'm just going to go on set and I'm going to catch a snake here or there. You're in it. Yeah. You are in it from sun to sundown.
That's wild.
Yeah, I could, like you said, I could only imagine.
It's
like
fun.
The habitat and how.
It's not gonna lie, it's fun.
What? Just out of curiosity, do you have like a record catch for one day?
I think probably, yeah. You know, we're in season 10. Season 9 last year, we saw Negan, who is played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, in a creek, and he has just kind of left his confines, and he's in a creek. He's drinking some water, and he was in what I call it Cottonmouth Creek on the property. But I think it's actually where Gabriel's church was. But this creek is full of cottonmouths, and it was baby season. And so I get down there, and there are babies everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's going to be down here. We're going to have him in the creek. And I'm like, I've got to get all these snakes out. And so I'm trying to catch them. And some of the crew is like throwing rocks in the water. And as they throw the rocks, another one scoots off. And then there's another one over here. And I have like a bucket full of baby cottonmouths. And they were adorable. They were beautiful, beautiful snakes. But the mom has been eluding me for a few years now. And I bet she didn't drop last year. So I bet this season she's going to drop again. But it was probably the cottonmouth day. There was probably 8 babies that day, and many more that I didn't even catch because they got away. And I stood down in the creek with Jeffrey Dean Morgan before we started shooting, because I stand there with him. And then right as the cameras come up, I step out of frame and he goes, "Are we good?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're great." You know, I'm not going to tell him I just pulled. You can see what I just got out of here. But he's really cool and he loves animals. So after we shot the scene, I called him over and I said, "This is actually what I got out." And, he was really interested and he loved them. And so it was great. There's so many of the actors are animal lovers. And so they really respect what I do. And
you said like really Norman Reedus would always come over and
he does. Yeah. Norman likes to come over and he's always coming up and hitting my bucket. What you got in the bucket? What you got in the bucket? And I'm like, and I've told him, I don't carry them around with me in the bucket. Especially if they're venomous, I try to get them off set because there's nothing like having 300 people on set. And there's always that one idiot that's like an extra background or something that wants to come up and open my bucket, even though it says, do not open, venomous snake, caution. There's always the one. So I try to get them off set because it's a safety issue for our cast and crew. But Norman, he gets excited as long as it's not too close. So, yeah.
Okay, say hi and bye.
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 Bye, guys.
Say good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. He has to be a part of it every night. Every time he makes a guest appearance.
I can't believe my dogs aren't barking. We have 5 dogs, and if they hear me talking or they hear other people talking, they don't recognize the voice, they'll start barking. But it's really quiet tonight for some reason.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan actually stars in one of my 2-year-old daughter's favorite movies.
Yeah.
Rampage. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't.
It's him and the Rock, and it's him and the Rock and like the gorilla and
yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I remember when he was doing that. I just haven't seen the movie yet.
I kind of thought his persona from Negan kind of took over there, like the whole smart ass persona.
I was like, oh, that's his Negan personality, which to me is such a brilliant character. And, when we're on set, and I love watching him act. I think he's a brilliant actor. And when he's doing that, cocky, arrogant Negan character, I get tickled. And a lot of stuff obviously gets edited out and gets cut that doesn't make it. And I'm just sitting there just rolling thinking, oh my God, people are going to die when they hear this. And then, I see the episode and I'm like, it didn't make it, So I feel so blessed that I get to I see the whole thing, I see everything that's even going to get cut. And we actually, even last year, we did some beauty shots with one of the cottonmouths I caught that was supposed to make it in one of the episodes for this season. And it should have already aired, and it didn't make it in the episode. Now, whether they edited into, a quick scene or something in one of the future episodes, I don't know. So if you see a cottonmouth, that was one of the snakes that I caught and we shot. But they're everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere.
Wow. That's awesome. Scary, but awesome.
But it doesn't scare. I don't know. Do you guys keep venomous?
No, I do not.
I don't. I plan on venturing into it when I don't have kids in the house anymore.
I think keeping them and then running past one in the woods would be kind of different, though.
It's not really.
No,
it's not. No. People think, when they find out I keep venomous snakes, they're like, they're loose in your house, and I want to go, yes, they're loose.
They're just wandering around the kitchen, hanging out.
I'm crazy.
I've had that question asked about my normal snakes. You just keep snakes loose in your house? Yeah. Because everyone does that.
Right, we do. My husband and I will get them out, and some of the larger snakes, we'll put them in the bathtub to soak. Mm-hmm. If somebody's, getting ready to shed, just to help them out. And Oh, that's something we didn't even talk about. So wife swap is coming up.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
You were going to bring that up.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love to do is I put my cottonmouth in my bathtub, and I have this big jacuzzi tub, and for some reason that really pisses people off. I don't know what the anger is with
So I never understood it either, because like I've been keeping reptiles most of my life. You know, my mom was into it. She's probably watching right now. She was super excited about this. But I've always like helped. I've soaked my animals if needed. You know, if they're going in the shed and stuff. And up until recently, a video went through like a few months back, and it was trying to say that people who soak their it's animal abuse to soak your animals. That's what someone was trying to say. And I'm here to tell you, it's animal abuse if you don't help your animal shed.
Yeah.
Like if your animal needs help shedding, that
video, when I put my cottonmouth in the tub, people just, it went viral. And so Wife Swap contacted me. And of course, I can't really give up any of the secrets of what ended up happening, but we did do Wife Swap, and the new mom did have to come here, and she did have to take care of my snakes. Now, they did make me remove all the venomous snakes from the house, which I told them was a huge mistake. You know, they were really going to be missing out on the fact that I put my venomous snakes in the tub and let them swim. But instead they put the ball pythons. And so you actually can see that in the clip. I've got a couple of ball pythons in the tub. Actually, I wasn't even here when they shot that, because I had swapped. But, you know, and I immediately got questions. Why do you have ball pythons in the bathtub? Well, normally it would have been my cottonmouth, but for safety reasons, I could not have venomous snakes in the house, and they still wanted to replicate what I do. So for all of you watching out there that sees that, yes, I did put ball pythons, or my husband put ball pythons in our tub. We did it for the show. Yes, I know they're not water snakes.
They'll be okay.
I know.
They'll be all right.
You have to make do with what you have for TV show or series or whatever. But I no telling how it's going to be edited. But it was a very interesting swap. I would totally do it again. It was a lot of fun, and it comes on March 19th, I think. It's the 19th. It's a Thursday night. 2 Thursdays from now.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks in an air. Yeah. And so, of course, I'm a really kind of open-minded person. It really does take a lot to like ruffle my feathers, and you'll see where they ended up sending me. I actually had a field day. So I think they expected me to be like, oh my God, but I'm not that kind of person.
Right. Like,
you know,
I
got in there.
I don't want to go.
I had a ball. Now, the mom that came to my house, she did say that when she walked in and saw all the snakes, that she almost quit the show right then and there. But she was a trooper, and I told her, I said, you know, really, you had it easy. It was, you know, it was the boa and the ball pythons and the milk snake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the bull snake is scary for people who don't work with snakes or don't understand behavior of snakes. He can be intimidating, you know. He has quite the attitude. He acts like a bull snake. And I would get him out. I think he's asleep right now. But he has been, his IMDb page is going to be bigger than mine soon. He has been very active in the Atlanta movies. And can you guess what kind of snake he's playing on TV?
No.
Rattlesnakes. That's
really.
Yes.
So,
and because a lot of people who don't know, they see them and think, they're like, oh, is that a rattlesnake? And I'm like, no, this is a rattlesnake. Don't jade us. And they're like, oh, okay. But you know, he puts on a great show, and he rattles his tail, and when he gets to hissing, everybody has a fit. I can't tell you what show he's been working on, but it's a very popular TV show, not the one that I work on, but another popular TV show, CBS, ABC, one of those channels. So if you see a rattlesnake, that's actually Victor, our bull snake, and he's done some other series too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is pretty cool.
Joe Hall says hi to everybody.
Hey, Joe, how's it going? Yeah. So I don't know if you can talk about the episode of Wife Swap, but didn't you say they sent you to like a farm or something like that, or like somewhere that they kind of thought would rally you up, and you're like, oh, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they, I'm not giving anything away because it's in the commercial for it. The mom, it even actually says it for the, just in case anybody from Wife Swap is sitting here with bated breath, waiting for me to say something wrong. It actually says in the title for the description of the show, which can be found online right now, it says a conservationist is sent to live with a hunter's wife that owns a hunting preserve. So that kind of tells you where the show is going. But I am born and bred right here in Georgia.
Right,
so
right. I was going to say, you grew up like probably hunting and fishing and hiking. So
yeah, I wasn't appalled. But I really hope that I brought an even bigger picture of appreciation for environments and habitats and ecosystems that maybe that they didn't even realize they had. So I think it's going to be a great episode. I hope it's going to be an educational episode. And I hope that anybody that's afraid of snakes that watches it, if I can turn one more person not afraid of snakes, then once again, I've done my job. And actually the mom and I are friends now, and she loves snakes.
That's awesome.
It's great,
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's always our goal, because I think, it's like wildfire. It spreads, you have a positive message, you get it across properly, and people are going to pick up on your vibration, on your positive energy, and they're going to pass that information along. I'm not, I hate to fear monger. I can't stand it when people fear monger. I go out of my way and spend a lot of my personal time making sure that people understand all the benefits and why you have the snake. And, because I think, education is what's going to help us get rid of the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of and misunderstanding and lack of
and using choice words, I would say, like for example, I've heard people use like words like snakes are aggressive or snakes attack people. Like they're not, they're defensive. And
they're defensive.
Right.
Yeah, I'm one of the moderators on Wild Snakes Education and Discussion. And Mike Van Valen is wonderful. He's a wonderful educator. I'm so proud that he started Wild Snakes Education and Discussion on Facebook. And I want to say we're at 70,000 members now.
Wow.
I'm not.
Everybody watching, go like and follow that page.
Yes, go like, Wild Snakes Education and Discussion. I am a moderator on there. I'm not as active as I used to be, simply because I am busy. I am busy. I'm constantly doing this, or I'm doing rescue, or I'm on set. And, but it's, getting back to, squirrel, getting back to education, there's so many platforms out there now that people can learn. I still hear this stupid, the only good snake is a dead snake. And I just, my first thought is, I feel really sorry for that person, that they're that ignorant, that they don't have anything else intelligent to say. Like they have nothing else to bring to the table except for the only good snake is a dead snake. That's, and I used to get mad, and sometimes I do still get angry and I will jump down somebody's throat. But for the most part, I try to really keep my cool, because I have noticed that I get across better to people when I'm not verbally assaulting them.
usually helps.
Asshole, how did you kill that? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, but I try to, compose myself, and I have to, working with the community, I want to promote something that's educational, that parents can go to and go, okay, you can watch her video because I know you're going to learn something. She's going to keep it clean. You're going to walk away and it's going to be a feel good situation.
Right.
And I've been approached I've been approached by a couple of different companies to do my own TV show. If there's any producers out there watching this, I would love to talk to somebody who does not want to fearmonger. I'm not going to dramatize me catching snakes and, make it this big deal. There's some other shows out there, they catch a snake and they're like, oh, it's ridiculous. I don't think that's necessary. I think what America, or what the world really needs, is good quality educational TV, something exciting that the whole family can sit down and get something from, that it's good for people, from baby to elderly, learn something and are excited to see it. And, we don't have programming like that anymore. I keep on hoping that the right production company comes along and we can come together and create some creative content. Steve Irwin was a god when it came to that. Like, he brought it. And, we need that again. And we need the real guts of the situation. No fake drama, no fear mongering. We're not going to sexualize it. I was offered to go with a couple of other female snake herpers, biologists, whatever. They wanted to send us around and capture snakes in the Amazon and stuff like that. And I thought, I know where this is going. I am not wrestling snakes for a TV show. Like, I'm not doing that. So maybe something good's going to come out of this for me holding out, and I'll get my good, clean, educational snake programming.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Chris Starr says hi.
So what's one of your favorite snakes in your collection?
I think actually probably my favorite is Lucille, and I was sitting here looking. She usually comes out this time of night. Let me see if we can see her. And her story, she's poking her head out. I don't know. Can y'all see her on
there? Keith, I don't know if you can make it. There we go.
Can y'all see her?
Yeah. You can see the side. Oh, there's his head.
That's my copperhead, Lucille, and she was actually a rescue out of a very heavily residential area a few years ago, and we got her out. And I always, when I relocate, I keep it within half a mile, conscious of diseases spreading and things like that. And we looked around and we're like, how has she even lived here this whole time? Like, there's no place for her to go. There's no safe place for her to go. There's no safe place for people to be. It was just house after house after house, no yards, no nothing. So I decided to bring her home, and I said, you know what? We're just going to keep her. And she can be part of our education program, because I relocate copperheads by the hundreds. I mean, it's, never have to keep them. I always have an area to put them. She had no place to go. And about a month into having her, I noticed that her back end was expanding, and I went, uh-oh. And we ended up, she had 9 babies, and I had never raised neonates before. And so I was very nervous, and I was like a nervous mom, actually. And I got them all in their each enclosure, and I went from having one copperhead to 10 overnight. And I caught her giving birth. And so we got them out. Some of them were still in their sacks, and there were 2 in one sack. And when they came out, they were identical. And so I had a hard time trying to get them to eat. That really, it was like I was like a worried mom,
Mm-hmm.
I was coming up with everything. And I finally figured out, I had brained some pinkies. Some of them would eat the pinkies, some wouldn't. I finally found a cicada shell outside, crushed it into a fine powder, took a pinky, brained it so it was all sticky, rolled it in the cicada shell, and I want you to know those babies went and took it. It was like fried chicken, I guess. You know, you just gotta season it right. You gotta season it right. And so,
I've heard during
people
cicadas.
Yeah, they love them. So it was like, okay, this has got to work, because I was getting worried, and I had some people tell me, that they had a really hard time raising baby copperheads, and I thought, I've got to do this. I've got to do this right. I've got to make sure this is done right. And every single one of them survived and thrived. And some of them are in educational facilities now. Some of them are with friends. But Lucille just really she's done a lot of education. She's done a lot of movies too. I know that when I sent her out with other educators, she is a perfect lady always.
That's awesome.
And so she's just kind of my favorite because of that. I mean, she's just an easy snake to work with.
Do you think temperament changes at all from being raised in captivity as opposed to wild?
No. Her temperament has been the same from the day I caught her at the residence. She was very docile then.
Yeah.
She never strikes. She never gives me a hard time. When I do take her out of her enclosure to clean it, sometimes she will musk. Now, Marty, the cottonmouth, as he has gotten older, and he's in another room, or else I'd take y'all in there to see him. He's coming out of brumation, so he's being a real jerk. His temperament, he's been getting pretty shitty lately, and he's really gotten big. If y'all seen the cottonmouth video where I'm doing education on cottonmouths and telling people, their behaviors. And he was great when he was younger. Now he's got an opinion.
He's an adult now. He's a grown up.
Yeah, he's a hot mess. But I will keep. All of them will be with me until they pass on, or I pass on. And my son knows. I've raised him. He's 18 now. I've raised him around these guys, and he knows, he's going to get a really interesting collection of animals when I pass, because we have turtles and skinks and other things too. So, some of these things are going to outlive me. And I did, they're in my will. You got to make sure you have your bases covered. These guys are important. So.
Right.
Yeah. Not many people realize the longevity of a reptile's life. I mean, most of the time it's way longer than your typical cat or dog, and you gotta be prepared for that.
It is. And I don't think that people realize the care that's involved. Yes, in a way it's an easier animal. You might only have to feed it once a week, clean the cage once a week, but you've got to have that proper lighting, proper heating, proper humidity. All of those things are important. You've got to have good husbandry skills, because this animal is just like having a cat or a dog, and they require, special things, stimulation, interaction, keep them busy. And I think, I get sad. I see these little, just a tub, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, because I know a lot of people keep them in tubs. I know. But I do like to provide a very nice, habitat. And I try to do it as what they would have in their native habitat. And I keep the humidity at that. I keep their temperatures at that. I don't know if you can see behind me. He's peeking. That is my blue-tongued skink. And he's actually set. Hey there, Drago. He's watching. He's very nosy. He's actually, I have the enclosures are on that herpstat. So everything is done according to who's in there. So it keeps everybody's temperature. And since he's from Australia, he gets a hotter temp than someone else. And I really love the herpstat setup for that.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially running multiple at one time.
Yeah. I've got a 3 stack here and I've got another 3 stack over here. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with them.
No.
Yeah.
Keith, did you have any questions? I'm trying to think. I had some, but I'm having a brain fart right now.
So going back to the beginning of the show, the question I couldn't think of was like, is there any special requirements you need to meet to keep Venomous in Georgia? Like anything, any standards for your room or anything like that?
Nope.
No.
Nothing.
That's all.
I do though. And
it's what someone else said too on the show.
Yeah, I think to be a reptile keeper, I represent every other venomous reptile keeper. And if I'm the idiot that does something stupid, it's going to be all over the news. And everybody's going to focus on that. And it makes venomous reptile keepers look even worse. So it's up to us to do everything we can to make sure that everything stays on the up and up. We're not mishandling snakes. We're not free handling venomous snakes, that they are secured, so that they're not getting loose and people aren't getting bit or, I think it's the responsibility of all of us, to set a high standard of care and consideration for these animals. There's never a moment that I don't realize what I'm dealing with. I understand that what I do have can kill me. And that is something that, I've come to accept. I don't plan on getting bit. I do have all the protocols with me at all times, for all the venomous snakes of Georgia, and those stay with me. And actually my husband is a paramedic. So, I gotta say it's kind of
that's what I was going to get into. Now your husband, he's actually a big part of your whole I'm having brain fart, your business.
All things
all things Wild Georgia, and he's
awesome. He if he's watching, hey honey, I love you. Franklin he's actually the one who has really pushed me. He's like, you're good at this and this is what you need to do. And he does all my videos. He also does snake wrangle with me occasionally. But he is always right beside me. A lot of people, when they meet him, I'm only 5'4", so I'm not big. But my husband is 6'5", and he's a big man with a big beard and covered in tattoos. So everybody immediately, like if we go on a snake call, they immediately start talking to him. And I'm like, it's me. You should be talking to. And they won't give me the credit. They think, when people come to our house that don't really know us, they think the snakes are all his, but they're actually all my snakes. And, I'll tell them, I'll say, I want this or I want that. And one of my best friends, William, down in Tallahassee, he actually breeds venomous snakes, and he's got this beautiful albino Eastern Diamondback, and hopefully I'll be getting a baby from that soon. And I told Franklin, I said, I want an albino Eastern Diamondback. And he said, okay. He never tells me no. He's really great. And he even builds a lot of my enclosures for me, and he like hand designs them and builds them and makes them really secure and safe. And so he has been, I mean, I couldn't do what I do if it weren't for him. So he's great. He's great. And, he loves the animals too. We love animals. It's not just, I think people know me for my reptiles, but we also do senior dog rescue. A lot of people don't realize that, but we do take in animals that have been dumped off at the pound that are 16, 17, 18 years old because their owners didn't want to take care of them and they're dying. Well, we are not going to let that happen.
Right.
So we do take those in, and we have dogs too. So, our hearts really go out for these misunderstood animals, or the ones that aren't wanted anymore, the problem animals. We have a big heart for them, and I'll do this till the day I die. I mean, I'm going to be 80 years old, and y'all are going to see me out in the middle of the road stopping traffic with my snake hook, getting a copperhead out of the road. I mean, I'll never do this. It's very rewarding. Yeah.
So now permits too, living in the same house, or
he actually, we both have separate permits.
Okay.
For we both have to have wildlife nuisance control permits and trapper's license. And just because we are married and live together, you can't use the other one.
Yeah, right.
So we each have our own that we use, because in Georgia you do have to have a trapper's license to be catching these animals. And a lot of people don't realize that also, you can't just go out and catch snakes and move them around. They think they're doing the right thing, and they think that they're helping. And I get that. I love that people want to help, but if people want to help, they need to leave it to the professionals that are seeing the big picture of how far this animal needs to move. What are the consequences if we put it into this area versus this area, and all of those things. We do have the permits for, so as well as to keep the native animals.
Right.
And it's something that, and this comes out of our pocket. We never ask for a dime. We take care of all these animals on our own. Victor actually has been paying the mouse money lately. He's been footing the bill for feeding all the kids because he's been doing so well in the movies, which is great. Because we do, we don't turn people down if they come to us and say, I got this and I can't keep it. And, I'm not going to turn it over to animal control. It's,
right.
Gonna get sick. It's not taken care of.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's no news to anyone about that case in Georgia. I won't bring up names.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I have been so busy and so out of the loop. I did not realize that that's what happened until I saw that Jason had stepped in, and I was like, wow. It broke my heart. Like I said, I am a native snob. I love my native snakes. I do have a couple of exotics. I'm not a huge exotics person. But I don't want to see any animal in that condition. And I don't know them personally. I just hope that people, the way that they treat their animals, regardless of whether it's a reptile or a furry animal, when you lay your head down at night, can you live with the choices that you made that day? Can you live with yourself? And I don't know how they did. And it's very disheartening to see. And now you've got a whole bunch of snakes that are in bad shape that need, to be rehabbed. Some of them might make it. Some of them won't. It's going to be a strain on resources. Now Jason's got his hands full, and he's always, God, he does so much amazing work here in Georgia. He's an amazing human being. He's one of my personal heroes. I love Jason Clark. He's got the means to do it, but it's something he shouldn't have to do. And none of us should have to step in and take up for other reptile keepers, especially under those circumstances.
Right. It's like it's a responsibility. It's like having kids. It's like having anything else. I mean, even then I really don't mind going into details with it, but I guess to them it was, even having kids wasn't like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's sad. It's sad. But they do not represent the reptile community as a whole. And I'm, I think it's really interesting because it's a very motley crew of people in the reptile community, but I've never seen a stronger bond between this community and any other community that I've been involved in. Our reptile community is strong. And, I think that we all stick up for one another, especially if you're a good keeper and your heart is, you're in the right place. You're not a poacher. You're not doing black market crap. And if you're out there watching, I know who you are. I will find you. I can't stand that. Oh my God, I can't stand that.
Liam Neeson right there.
I have one person and he knows who he is, and I can't stand it. I can't stand this poaching. I can't stand it. I can't go into detail because I can't name names, but we do have people out there and they're up to no good, and they're not doing it for the welfare of the animal or the welfare of the community. And it's, it puts a black mark on all of us when they do this crap.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. We always end up talking about this, but people who get into the hobby for the money, and it really makes everyone look bad at that point. I mean, the keepers and breeders who, started out because of it was their passion,
right,
and are making money from it now because, they want to continue to be able to, live, work with reptiles their whole life, and in order to do that, you got to make money, but the people who jump into it, it kind of makes them stand out more than the people who jump into it strictly for the money.
Oh, you can definitely tell the difference going to the shows.
Yeah, definitely. I never meant to become a keeper. It literally happened by accident. It just, people were like, well, you know how to take care of it, and I don't want it. Or like with Lucille, she was my first venomous snake that I ever kept. That was literally a fluke. I had no intentions of ever becoming a venomous keeper, ever. Now, when I caught the huge copperhead on set and I had posted the picture of it, my emails blew up. Do you still have that snake? How much do you want for it? And I was like, no, I really don't. The snake is not for sale. Right. There is no amount of money in the world. There really isn't. There is no amount of money in the world that could buy my conscience. Right. These guys mean more to me, and their protection and their safety means more to me than any amount of money. I get more joy in seeing them out in the wild, and that's priceless. So they're always going to be safe under my eye, always. Right. Never going to let anything bad happen. But there are some ruthless people out there. And, when I figure out who they are, if they're on my friends list, sometimes somebody will send me a message and say, hey, just so you know, this person, because I don't know all the people on my friends list. If we have a bunch of reptile friends in, that are the same, I'm like, okay, so obviously they're in the reptile biz. I don't know their personal history, but I try not to associate with them because it looks bad on me, and I do have a brand that I'm, trying to keep clean, and I don't want anything to do with those people.
Right. Yeah. I really don't blame you. So, I was going back through your business page, and I saw some pictures of you doing a show, like an educational show with kids, and you had an owl.
Oh yes, yep. Yeah, I used to work with raptors, and I actually was working on getting my falconry license. In Georgia, I was working on several different things. By trade, I guess I have all the education I need to be a wildlife rehabilitator. I went through the courses, I took the training, went through everything with DNR. But in the state of Georgia, you have to choose. You can either be a wildlife educator or you can be a rehabber. There's a handful of people that were kind of grandfathered in that are both. But they don't want you taking in animals to rehab and then keeping them instead of releasing them and using them for education. So I had to make the choice, and I decided to stick with education. And rehabbing is emotionally exhausting, but I did work with it for a while, especially with the raptors. I worked with a really great company or business called Hawk Talk, and the lady who runs it is phenomenal with hawks and owls, and I learned a lot from her. But my heart is really, I love raptors and the reptiles, but everybody loves to see an owl. They get excited. Everybody does not like to see a snake. So, I knew where my calling was.
Yeah.
I knew where my calling was. So I went with these guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, before we started, you said you get the question of what would be a good beginner snake a lot.
I do.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yes. For anybody that's out there that is, wondering where to start their kids off with, I really do like the ball pythons for beginner snakes. That's just my personal favorite. If somebody is looking to get something, they're pretty easy to care for. They're easy to handle. They're not real bitey. They don't get huge. They're cute. They really are cute. Their little faces are cute.
Colors too.
They come in all different kinds of colors and patterns. I actually have, I can't believe she's not being nosy, but Marilyn's usually, we have Marilyn Manson, and she's usually poking out, and she's a beautiful little ball python. She's not little, she's a little fatty. I think they make great snakes for kids to start with. The little milk snakes, like a Nelson's milk snake, is a good one. I think it's important that if you do get a reptile as a pet, do your research. How big is it going to get? What type of habitat does it like? What does it eat? Can you handle feeding it? We don't feed live here. I do frozen thawed for everything. Even my wild caught snakes eat frozen thawed. I've been able to get everybody to eat what they need to eat. But you do have to make sure you've got the proper lighting, whether you have a turtle. Is it getting enough calcium? You want to really make sure you've got the proper setup. And I encourage anyone that's looking for a snake or a reptile, get your setup first.
Yep.
Get it set up. Have everything ready to go.
I'm a huge advocate for that.
Yes. Then go and look for your animal. And here in Georgia, we have Georgia Reptile Society, which I'm a member. And I love them. They do great work here. And you can adopt all kinds of reptiles through Georgia Reptile Society. You can find them online and go and fill out an application. It is $20 to adopt a reptile from them. And we get in some of the nicest things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
The Chinese water dragons, bearded dragons. Bearded dragons are another good one. That's another good one to start with kids. But make sure you're not getting like two and putting them in an enclosure. I think people make that mistake too. They feel sorry for them. They're alone. And they put another one in there. It's not really ideal. So just do your homework. Really, really do your homework. And we actually have a bull snake. Somebody that they got that as their first snake. Do not get a bull snake as your first snake. Not a beginner snake. So
just like get a super dwarf. retic.
What?
A super dwarf retic. That should be everyone's first snake.
Oh, that is one that I just don't have any desire.
They're a handful.
Yeah, we
Dwarf or not, I think they're a handful.
Yeah, I had an 8-foot boa. I actually just adopted her out, and I did not. The enclosure that I wanted for her was actually $10,000, and
wow.
Because when I do things, and it's hard. All of our, see if I can kind of show y'all. All of our enclosures are on timers, and so with heat lamps, and like this cage alone right here is for my bull snake, and it's a big enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one of my other little babies, Tulip.
Like the sticker.
Yeah, this needs to come off this because she's not venomous. But we really make it a point. Oh, here's Marilyn. Yeah, she is being nosy. So for someone who wants a beginner snake, I do really like the ball pythons. And you got your water all dirty. I don't know if you guys can see her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a doll baby. She's sweet. Oh, it says I'm getting a low battery. I've been talking so long. I can talk snakes. I can talk snakes.
No, that's fine.
That's why when you ask me, you're like, how long does it last? I get that question every time. And I try and tell them, I'm like, well, for an hour, but I mean, like, sometimes they hit 2 hours. I mean, you never know.
We can talk all night. We can talk all about these guys. I do actually even raise my own bugs.
Oh, nice.
So
let me get this pull this up again.
Yeah, I've got the,
little mealworms,
super worms, and they have their own separate little enclosures. Crickets.
So you raise a lot of your own like food source for like your lizards and stuff then.
I do. It's just easier than running out whenever they need one. I was hoping Lucille is so good about coming out at night. She's more nocturnal. But she must know that I want to show her off. And then because my phone is going low, I'll take y'all quickly out to see the rattlesnake. Okay. Jadis and Marty live in the garage in a much larger enclosure. And but I know their lights are off right now, but Marty likes to hang out the front. Sometimes he may be out here, and he has just gotten really big. Sorry about this, guys.
Do you keep him in the garage because of the noise, out of curiosity?
No, and he's hiding right now. So this is one enclosure for Marty, and then this one is for Jadis, and I don't know if you guys can actually see her in there. She's in the turtle shell hiding right now.
Oh, all right. I can see her a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
So she, I keep them out here, and I'll open up her enclosure. She usually rattles as soon as I do.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
There she goes.
So she's letting us know. That's my little girl. But yeah, I keep them out here, and because their enclosures are so big and they required special enclosures, it was just easier to put them out here versus keeping them in the house. And she rattles a lot. So there's that as well.
You can still hear her going.
Yeah.
So Joe says, Kim, have you considered building shelves in your enclosures to increase your usable floor space?
Yes. Actually, we do have some shelves, and I have downsized a lot. We have a lot more snakes and reptiles, but because of the industry and me being so busy lately, we don't really, I probably am not going to get a whole lot more snakes. And if I do, they'll probably be venomous and probably end up in the big wooden enclosures outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I really can't blame you. I mean, you already got quite a bit
we
going
have,
on.
We have big shelves.
Right.
And that
I
works
thought
good
about
for
the lights
for-
hanging there and everything. So
I think what Joe's talking about when you said usable floor space, like inside my retic vibes, for instance, where I have my retics, like
like a shelf,
they're in big
enclosure.
wooden. Yeah, there's a shelf inside the enclosure that they can like climb up on, get closer to the heat source, and
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think he's not, if you're talking about building shelves in there.
Right. There's I've saved it somewhere. There's somebody that custom builds these enclosures for really large snakes. And I had the sweetest boa constrictor named Ophelia, and you'll actually see her in Wife Swap. We got her adopted out. We took her in as a rescue. Yep. And I had her at the vet constantly trying to figure out what was wrong with her. It was always something upper respiratory. She just had a lot of issues. And finally, the last thing that she had was an abscess in her mouth. We don't even know how she got it. When we get these guys in, we don't really know their whole story or how they've been taken care of. But she deserved a better enclosure. I have the 4-foot, I don't even know what these are considered, vision cages. I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what they're called.
Just vivariums. Vivariums.
So we got her adopted out, and I think she's an only snake now, which is great. But in the future, if I have any more large snakes, I'm definitely going to take my own advice, and I'm going to have the enclosure ready. Mm-hmm. And have a big one and have the shelves, because I do like that. I love the really big terrariums that actually take up an entire corner of a room. Mm-hmm. I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but I really want built-ins that look as if you were going into a zoo, right. That type of look. And that's something that I'm hoping to build in the future.
Yeah, that is what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I read the message wrong.
Something, hey, if he wants to come build me one, I am game, because I always need, somebody's always going to come to me needing help with something. And I'm such a sucker. I'm going to go, okay. Yes, ideally I would love to have something. I really need something really large, just in case that, even if I don't have anything to put in it, if a rescue situation comes, I can take it and provide proper, adequate care for it, habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I know your phone's dying.
Yep. It gave me the warning.
Any last message for anybody watching?
Yeah. Peace, love, and snakes. I mean, the only
simple. I like it.
Live snake. Anybody that wants to learn more, or is just getting into the learning, join Wild Snakes Education and Discussion on Facebook. There's also, Georgia Reptile Society here in Georgia. If you're ready to get your first reptile, they will help you get the habitat ready, give you all the information you need to know about that animal, and help you find the right animal for your family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think we need to see more of that in the hobby.
Yeah.
And also make sure you guys, of course, check out her page, All Things Wild North Georgia.
Yep.
Sure.
Oh, and watch.
And watch Wife Swap. Yep, Walking Dead and Wife Swap.
Walking Dead and Wife Swap. I'm always behind the scenes of The Walking Dead, but I'm going to be front and center on Wife Swap, so y'all can see that all go down.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
One last question. Do they send you like a preview of like the episode before they air it? Do you get to like see the episode before anyone else? No.
No.
You don't.
So I I thought they were going to say crazy snake lady or this crazy animal hoarder or something, which I'm not a hoarder. But they actually, labeled me as a conservationist, which I was grateful for because, sometimes they can get a little dramatic.
Yeah.
So I was really grateful that they could see past all the animals and see that really for me, it is about conservation. And, so yeah, I don't know exactly everything they're going to show, but I think that everybody will get a good laugh. And I, met some amazing people along the way. And as with Wife Swap, they have families, and I have a second family now, and I really love all the kids a lot, but you'll have to watch to see what I mean.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right.
Well, I mean, we definitely appreciate you coming on, and we'd love to schedule again sometime in the future. That's something you'd be interested in. I mean, it was definitely good conversations.
We'll do, maybe we can go live on a set. As long as I'm not showing anything, maybe we can do that, or I can.
That would be.
Maybe we could go herping on set and not show, as long as I'm not showing any of the cast and crew, maybe I can show y'all some of the areas and some of the wildlife. That would be kind of fun.
That would be awesome.
That would be really cool. And I mean, we just have to work out scheduling between everyone's work schedule, but that would be, I think our viewers would, I'd really enjoy that.
Screw the viewers. I want to see it.
I'll show you guys some things y'all wouldn't believe. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope somebody got something out of this conversation.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh,
that's why we do.
I'm sure tons of people will.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
Yep. Right. Okay. Happy herping.
Right.
Happy herping.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
All right. You wanna say your goodbyes?
All right, guys. So. Well, you heard it. And we have more guests coming up. I mean, we'll have our commenters throughout the night. Joe Hole, he'll be a guest coming up within the next month. I believe. I don't remember the exact date. I'll have to look at my calendar. Yeah, but he's gonna be coming on. We got a bunch of people. So make sure you guys tune in,
including you if you want to be.
Yeah, including you. You just shoot us a message. I mean, don't be shy.
Right.
I only bite when you say hi. So all right. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us.
See you later. All right.
All right.
Hold on.